Everybody. If you're here in London, it's a glorious sunny afternoon, so it's very kind of you to come and join us for what promises to be a very thought-provoking and stimulating seminar. I'm Louise Ryan, and I'm Director of the Global Diversities and Inequalities Research Centre, along with Dr. Maria Lopez, the Deputy Director, who's also here with us this afternoon. And this forms part of our regular seminar series for the Research Centre. And if you're interested in our future events, we have regular seminars and book launches and other events throughout the semester. Please go to the Centre website where you can see our programme of forthcoming events. So this afternoon we are very pleased to be launching a new book written by our colleague and member of the Centre, Dr. Ahmed Erdi Ozturk. Before I come to Erdi to speak about the book, I would first of all like to introduce Professor Jeff Haynes, who's a emeritus professor from politics at London Met. And he's going to speak for about 10 minutes and sort of introduce the book and set up the book before we then hand over to Erdi to tell us more about the publication. So Jeff, as I said, was Professor of Politics here at London Met, and his areas of expertise are religion and international relations, religion and politics, democracy, democratization, development studies, comparative politics, and globalization. His publications include more than 50 books and 150 journal articles, which is hugely impressive. So he's obviously a man of great expertise, and it's great to welcome him back to London Met this afternoon. And I now hand over to Professor Jeff Haynes. Are you ready, Jeff? Hello, Jeff. He was there a moment ago.
Yeah, I think I will speak first, and then Jeff will make some comment.
Okay.
I thought the format was Erdi first and then me.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I had that you were going to speak first and then Erdi was going to speak after, but fine if we've changed it in the light of... So just to explain to people who are joining, there is a third speaker and we're just waiting for her. She's currently in the States and we're waiting for her to connect. So in the meantime, I'll hand over to Erdi.
Thank you so much, Liz. I would like to thank you, Maria and Anne, and also all the staff members of the Global Diversities and Equalities Research Center. Today is a very special day for me because after exactly, if I'm not mistaken, 6 different book launches about my brand new book in the different occasions under the umbrella of different institutions, finally today I had reached an opportunity to deliver my findings, to share my book with my home institute. This is very special for me. But beyond that, if I may so, it is super special for me to share the visual platform with Jeffrey Haynes, Professor Jeffrey Haynes. I may easily say that he is my academic father. He's a true colleague, and also intellectual, and he has been in every single critical junction of my career, starting from my first master. And today, if I have a little bit of something about religion, soft power, this is all because of Jeff's writing, and I would easily say that I owe in every single sense to my career, including this book. And this book's foreword is also written by Jeffrey Haynes, and this is a great honor for me. So if I would like to, if I speak about the book, actually this book is a product of a personal experience, or I would easily say that it's a kind of a twist of fate. After many different issues, I started to live in Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia, in late 2014, and this story actually has begun. Even though it is very difficult for anyone to consider Ljubljana as a classical Balkan capital, you can smell every single taste of the Balkans thanks to the migrants from Bosnia, Serbia, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Kosovo, and Albania. And when I was in Ljubljana, I realized that these migrants had been following Turkish news, politics, and culture very closely, and they have different and variable feelings about Turkey, particularly the contemporary Turkey. They commonly, whether they are coming leftist, right-wing, religious, non-religious background, they commonly underline one particular point, which is regarding Turkey's very influential and at the same time very multi-dimensional roles in the region. And actually they told me many times that phrase, Turkey is back. But the ways of being back was very diverse for them, and this is a very repetitive argument, has pushed me to work on Turkey-Balkan relations under the popular, famous, very disputable Justice and Development Party, AKP, or you may also know that as the Erdogan's party, Recep Tayyip Erdogan's party. But at the very beginning of this journey, it wasn't very easy for me to draw the borders of this study. I mean, this Turkey-back argument, as I said, was very diverse among ordinary people. But at the same time, you can also find the same argument in semi-academic and academic circles. In this regard, some claim that the policies of the successive Erdogan governments and the political strategies of Erdogan concerning the Balkans have long been energized by Turkey's desire to re-establish political, economic, religious, and cultural hegemony in the region through various neo-imperialist, I may say neo-colonial projects, and foresee the revitalization of multi-phased Ottoman legacy. On the other hand, some of the other semi-academic and academic articles argue that Turkey and the Balkans, during the AKP period, during the Erdogan regime, have reached the peak of their mutual beneficial relations, economic enlargement, and proactive utilization of the transnational state apparatus on the part of Turkey. Within these claims, I can say that many other arguments regarding religion, instrumentalization of religion, power, and interest-based political moves between Turkey and the Balkans push me to work on these subjects. So all in all, what I did in this book, I scrutinized Turkey's increasing involvement and activisms seeking to uncover the role of particularly religion, power-oriented identity reflections in the Balkans within the new millennium. Therefore, my study, I can say that easily eliminates these aspects of Turkey's relations with its Balkan neighbors in the context of a broader shift in domestic and foreign policy under the changeable, very disputable political phases of the AKP regime. And I argue that this reading can only be held looking from a realistic secular orientation to an adventurous and ambivalent one featuring ethno-nationalist coercive signification of the state identity. I know that Jeff is not fan of this signification or ethno-nationalist coercive signification concept, but for me, in the book, what I did, it explains the complex relation between religion, state identity, and signification in Turkey as they reflect on state power resources in various and complicated ways. My study also argued that Turkey's increasingly authoritarian and reactive domestic and foreign policy and using Islam as an instrument and as an objective cannot be simply defined as a soft power. It's a very blurry contest. But on the contrary, in this article, using Jeff's previous literature regarding religious soft power, I define Turkey as an ambivalent religious soft power. Indeed, I didn't do them in my chair. To analyze all of these issues, I lived in the Balkans more than 3 years. And this study draws on a fieldwork conducted between late 2015 and early 2019, including hundreds of ordinary people interviews, and also beyond that, I managed to conduct more than 120 semi-structured elite interviews with the prime ministers, foreign ministers, experts, different political actors, diplomats, religious leaders, and scholars in the Balkans, but particularly in 3 country cases: Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Albania. But on the one hand, yes, this book using Turkey and the Balkans as the testing ground and the country cases, as Jonathan Fox underlines in his endorsement, one of his endorsements in the book, this study is beyond the borders of Turkey and the Balkans. as you can understand from the title, it is very much related with the interwoven structure of religion, power, ethnicity, and state identity. Within this speech, I will not say anything about theoretical except these sentences, because I would like to say something about my arguments regarding religion and instrumentalization of religion in foreign policy, and about the ambivalent use of religious soft power, because Jeff is in here, and I think maybe we can discuss some of the points in with a theoretical angle. So what I am arguing in this book as a theory, as an instinct part of an identity, religion has the capacity to shape politics, power, relations, as well as state identities. This is certain. But at the same time, religion and religion-oriented power struggles, to the extent that it forms part of a state identity, therefore, it can easily shape domestic and foreign policies, even if the actors and the decision makers are themselves non-religious or secular. So what I argued in this book, the establishment and the transformation process of a state identity start from domestic level via both leadership effects and the effects of the critical junctions after power struggles in the domestic politics with different ideological camps. That says that many countries have multi-faced and multi-layered identities, some of which have direct and indirect relations with religions. But in any case, which country we're going to talk, religion is one of the indicators of the state identities and power connotations in international relations, and religion at the same time could be one of the biggest transformative power of the countries in domestic politics. Indeed, you can test this argument from the history of Europe, United Kingdom, Latin American countries, and even the United States. But why I choose Turkey, this is not only because I'm from Turkey and I lived in the Balkans. This is not exactly about it, because Turkey's religion, state, and society relations are quite unique, sui generis. Ahmet Kuru, our colleague and a common friend, in his 2009 book from Cambridge University Press, classified the separation of religion and church or mosque relations into three categories. US type of secularism, the kind of an continental European or a French type of laïcité, and Turkish type of laiklik, which is secularization. Even though Turkey was the first Muslim majority country established that kind of laiklik, secularism, this is not very much related, like totally separation between religion and political religion and political lines. This is mostly about controlling religion and management of religion by the political elites. It was the same during the founding fathers period, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's period. It is the same right now, but the only problem is that not a problem, I'm not showing my political preferences in here, but the only differences is right now that now Turkey, in the first time in history, running by a very religious political cadre, very Islamist political cadre, and a very authoritarian political cadre. So religion still is one of the core dominant actors in the state structure, and it has been transforming state identities. So at the end of the day, I don't want to talk too much about the Turkish history. Today, Turkey under Erdogan regime, what I'm arguing in the book, like many different countries all around the world, is gradually withdrawing from international cooperation, and today's Turkey is restoring a new distinction between civilization, Western understanding of civilization, by synthesizing nationalism with a nostalgic and a subjective understanding of history, memory, and Sunni Islam. This transformation has been evacuating under the control of Erdogan and his unofficial coalition partners within the Turkey. These unofficial partners are Islamist, nationalist, and Eurasianist, who has been claiming that Turkey's place shouldn't be with the Western club, but should be with Russia and China. And this has been creating a direction change within the Turkey, and Turkish ship is super big. So this kind of transformation has been creating different ideas. Some underline that Turkey has been getting stronger, independent, and being a game changer via increasingly addressing the global audience. But in the book, after my fieldwork, I am not totally, but mostly rejecting this idea, since for me, from my reading, the transformation of Turkey's state identity under Erdogan rule have been undoubtedly creating a jargoning effect, and within this transformation, religion, religious actors, and instrumentalization of religion has been playing a dominant role. And it is obvious that, I mean, it has been creating different types of reactions, different types of explanations, different types of understanding when it combined with right-wing populism, not reactive, not proactive, but aggressive foreign policy strategies, and has been creating different tensions. So to test all of these arguments, I choose, as I said, 3 different Balkan countries. This is why I mean Bulgaria, North Macedonia, and Albania, because I mean, these 3 countries is very important for Turkey, because Turkey, I mean, I know that we have lots of audiences they don't know that much about Turkey, because Turkey has a one unique transnational state apparatus, which is called Diyanet, Presidency of Religious Affairs. And this institution is not only serving inside Turkey, but at the same time also outside of Turkey. In the UK, in France, in Netherlands, in the United States, even in Cuba, they have some mosques and they have some legal agreements from the host countries. In the Balkans, after the solution of the Cold War, these 3 countries, Bosnia, North Macedonia, and Albania, is the first 3 countries, and right now the only 3 countries, invited Turkey's Diyanet, Turkey's transnational religious apparatus, because of Turkey's secular mentality. And I would like to read one quote. This is the Mikhail Ivanov's quote. He is the first minister of the first democratic president of Bulgaria, Jalil Jalalev. He underlined that we invited Turkey's transnational religious apparatus because of Turkey's secular mentality. We knew that only secular and the modern Muslim majority country, Turkey, can take care of our Muslims. And if we didn't invite Turkey in the first place, most of the fundamentalist and extremist groups, Wahhabis and Salafis, could affect our Muslim community. But right now, I feel very guilty to invite Turkey, because instrumentalization of Islam, using Islam, has been distributing our society's peaceful environment. This is a shocking sentences when you read that. I mean, within the 3 decades, how one policymaker's attitude has changed. And also these 3 countries can give us a very good Balkan photo. I mean, in the literature, there's a division about the Balkans, Western Balkans, Eastern Balkans. There's also other definitions about Southeast Europe. But Balkans has 13 different countries, and all of them has different socio-political dynamics and the demographic situations. And Albania, Bulgaria, and North Macedonia will give us a perfect photo. Bulgaria is a member of EU, like significant, but still a very weak Turkish majority, Orthodox. North Macedonia is a large Muslim minority, almost 35–40% of the population, but a weak state. Albania, dominantly Muslim, but these Muslims do not have that much effect in the power of the in the power corridors, in the economical angles in the country. So this will give me a huge photo. I mean, to cut it short, after like my field work, my readings, my interviews, I found 4 different issues regarding Turkey's overdose use of Islam and using Islam when it is foreign policy in the Balkans. The first thing is that what I noted in the book, service to the global ummah. Despite all other activities, when one look at the investments of Turkey and how these investments are perceived by the local elites of the Balkan, they are very anxious and they're very worrying about that, because Justice and Development Party, Erdogan, has realized that Turkey's Western-oriented secular foreign policy has not serving the new interest of new Turkey. So it aims to establish deeper relations with the Balkan countries, but particularly the Muslims of these countries. Turkey right now is the third biggest investors in the countries after United States and European Union. Even the UK is ranking in the lower than Turkey. But when you look at the data and when you talk the religious institutions, policymakers, you realize that all of these investments are mostly going one single-sided and religion-oriented investments because they're only going to the Sunni Muslims. But when we look at that, Balkans is at the same time the heart of the Alevis and Bektaşis. It is the second biggest sect of Islam. So this will create a trust issue among the policymakers. But in the literature, this has been defined as a soft power, and I'm rejecting it. It is not a soft power because at the same time, it has been disturbing or creating some complicated feelings from the others. The second thing is that when you read the Turkey's contemporary history over the last 2-3 decades, you will see one feasible actor, which is the Gülen movement. Is the who Erdogan blamed that sitting behind the 2016 coup attempt. But also Turkey has many traitors in domestic politics. What we saw that this is entitled in the book as the exportation of domestic conflicts via transnational and particular religious apparatus. Turkey is not living in his domestic struggles, domestic conflicts, or I would say that's like non-armed wars inside in its country. It has been disturbing all around the region via transnational apparatus, and this creates another problem because all of these institutions, Turkey-originated transnational institutions and religious institutions and other religious communities, on the paper have one particular aim, serving to the Balkans. But they're not only serving to the Balkans, they're also exporting their domestic conflicts via different ways. And I would like to give many different examples during the Q&A section. The third issue is that when the Balkan people, Balkan policymakers see that how Turkey's religious apparatus involving their domestic politics, they've been getting like another sovereignty concern, because not like other Western European countries, but for the Balkans, sovereignty, their independence is quite important. But using these institutions and using these huge aids and huge support to the Balkan Muslims, the current Turkey regime has been trying to interfere in the internal affairs of the countries, and this will create another issues. I mean, they've been dividing parties. They've been putting some member of the parliaments to the elections. They have been establishing different institutions, different associations. They've been only involving politics under the guidance of the Turkey's regime. This has been creating another negative connotation. The last part is the instrumentalization of Sunni Islam and nationalism with the right-wing populism and aggressive foreign policy of the contemporary Turkey. Many elites in the region think that most of Turkey's particularly religion-oriented activities might destabilize it very fragile secular environments of the Balkan countries. This is the one side of the coin. Indeed, in the other side of the coin, most of the particularly lower middle class Muslims are very happy and very happy and very enthusiastic regarding Turkey's back style to the region. So all in all, what I say that, I mean, these diversities shouldn't be defined under the definition of the religious soft power. If one would like to define it, it should be defined as an ambivalence religious soft power, because it has creating different ideas, different perceptions, and these perceptions is very much related how you use religion, how you use nationalism, and how you experience a different kind of a transformation in domestic politics. So this photo suggests that states cannot use religious and nationalist tools as one-dimensional soft power. Religion or the overdose instrumentalization of ethno-religious instruments as a means of oppression to the hands of the political regime can promote changes in state identity. These transformations can be read from different sides in a different way. So this is the story of the book. I'm not sure how I can summarize the 4 years work within 20 minutes, but I'm sure there are many great points, because most our audiences is quite stranger for the Turkey's actors. But I hope after Jeff's or Jocelyn's presence, we will clarify these great points. And I get an email from Jocelyn, and I'll send the link in her again. I hope she will be with us soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Erdi, for that very passionate presentation. So I'll now hand over to Professor Jeff Haynes, whom I've already introduced. And if anybody has questions, if you could hang on to those questions until after Jeff has spoken, and then I will open the floor for your questions and contributions. So for now, over to you, Jeff.
Okay, well, thank you. Can you see me okay?
Yes, I can see
Fantastic.
you. You're a bit dark, but we can see you.
Okay, let me turn the lights on. I'm in Colchester, in Essex, not a million miles away. Let there be light, and there was
yes,
light.
That's better. Okay. We can definitely see you better now.
Fantastic, thank you. Thanks, Louise. Thanks, Erdi. Well, what can I say? Erdi is my one of my favourite people, and certainly my favourite academic person. And I was lucky enough to be an external examiner of Erdi's PhD in Strasbourg a few years ago, and I knew him before that. I've known him for quite a while now, but I was very impressed with his PhD, and I was also very impressed and pleased when he asked me to write the foreword for his book. And as I say in the foreword, I've externally examined well over 30 PhDs, and Erdi's struck me as a very good, very well structured, very clear and well argued PhD about a crucially important topic. Turkey is, of course, one of these countries which in a Western context is seen as straddling two worlds almost, and is seen as being part of the Western setup via membership in NATO especially, and over the years when Turkey was trying to become a member of the EU. May still happen, but it looks quite unlikely now, I think. And Turkey's also got a reputation for being a strongly secular country, yet with a equally strong Islamic cultural and to some degree religious background, if I can put it that way. So Turkey is often seen as a country which straddles two worlds, the East and the West. That may be a very sort of ethnocentric Western perspective, but many in the West might see Turkey like that. So when it comes to the issue of what's Turkey up to in the Balkans, and of course the Balkans is one of these regions of the world, particularly from a European perspective, which is seen in the past to be a place of conflict, a place of great cultural diversity and religious diversity. And then what is Turkey doing there? Well, Erdi refers to this as soft power. I think one of my questions to him will be how we define soft power in this context. Soft power is often juxtaposed with hard power, of course, and when we think of hard power, we're often thinking about military power, the threat of military force or the use of military force, and the ability to use money, to use financial resources to get what we want. So hard power is often linked to financial capacity and military threat or military capacity. So what's soft power? Well, the term soft power, not religious soft power, but soft power, was coined 20 years ago or more by the US political scientist Joseph Nye. And soft power is about the ability to get people to do things that you want them to do. They want to respond to you by going along with you. Your encouragement helps them to act in a certain way rather than another way. And it's often a fairly ambiguous concept, but it definitely focuses on encouragement rather than force. Now, Turkey's role in the Balkans, Erdi characterizes as religious soft power. I think I would go a little bit further and a little bit differently than that and call it something like cultural identity hyphen religious soft power. It's a way of expressing Turkey's preferences in relation to neighbouring countries, which were all, of course, part of the Ottoman Empire in the past. So to some degree, it's religion, to some degree, it's identity, to some degree, it's culture, to some degree, it's history. So what does that mean for Turkey's foreign policy? Well, Turkey, of course, is a country which for nearly a century now has been overtly secular. Turkey's claim to modernize from 1923 onwards has been a claim to reject the power of religion in the public realm and to control religion by the state. So Turkey's state for the last century nearly has been about controlling religion rather than facilitating the role of religion in the public realm. So when we talk about Turkey's religious soft power, it doesn't imply, and Erdi doesn't argue this, it doesn't imply that Turkey is somehow working in tandem with religion. Turkey's state is a powerful entity which dominates religion, but it uses religion as part of its identity. And the regime that's been in power now in Turkey for nearly 20 years, the AKP government, has used religion, Sunni Islam, domestically to express and consolidate and further its power, and it's been electorally highly successful. The approach to how we understand Turkey is often said that Turkey is becoming more authoritarian. But it seems to me that Turkey is still strongly democratic in at least one sense, which is that the government wins relatively free and fair elections. The president has won election via a powerful appeal at the ballot box. So to some degree, Turkey's post-2002 appeal is built upon both democratic and religious foundations. When we look to the external environment, when we look to the Balkans, for example, like striking something I already said just now about how Turkey is to some degree regarded as an acceptable actor because Turkey doesn't project an extremist view of religion. And it's worth bearing in mind, of course, that for the last 20 years, global politics has to some degree been linked to the effect of 9/11, the effects of religious extremism focusing a political goal, which was, of course, via 9/11 to damage the United States. And I think that many governments in the world, including in the Balkans, were traumatized by the expression of religion as an extremist actor, which could affect political power as well. I mean, that attack on 9/11, killing 3,000 people in the Twin Towers, was a profound event which had a huge impact upon many of us, including many governments. So one of the appeals Turkey is that it doesn't threaten to stir up religious extremism. And what Turkey's done at home, the AKP government has done at home, is to quell religious extremism, to quell extremism in general. Because lest we forget, Turkey in the 1970s was a country beset by civil war between, let's call it, religious extremists and secular extremists. And one of the things that the AKP government has done is to quell extremism, which is something which all governments fear. So when we talk about Turkey's soft power in the Balkans, I think at least one dimension of this has been to present a form of rule which quells religion, controls religion, yet utilizes religion as a facet of its identity. And it's the Erdogan government has pulled off quite a difficult feat by by managing to do that, I think, because it's expressing itself as a pro-religion, pro-Islam government, yet without raising the spectre of extremism. And that has been a very difficult thing to do post 9/11, to use Islam as part of your identity without raising the fears of extremism. So when it comes to the Balkans, when it comes to the neighboring countries, I think that the governments, neighboring governments that Turkey, that Erdi focuses on in his book, aren't so much impressed by the religious capacities or dimensions of the government, so much as impressed by the government's ability to use religion for its own purposes. And I think governments almost everywhere in the modern world seek to use religion rather than work with religion. So Turkey, in a way, shows a model of state-religion relations which enables the state to dominate, but to use religion as part of its identity and characteristics, which encourages people to vote for it, because the Islamic or Islamist credentials of the AKP government in Turkey encourage a large swathe of Turkish voters to go with the AKP at the ballot box, not because they expect an Islamic state to be built a la Iran or Saudi Arabia, but because they anticipate that the AKP government will bring in what they identify as Islamic values. What are Islamic values? Well, widely debated, of course, but Islamic values tend to be values linked to a conservative, maybe moral view of society, which is hesitant to embrace very far-reaching or far change. And I think that Turkey under Erdogan, under President Erdogan, can express this in its. I'm getting a message saying my connection is poor, so I'm poor. I don't know why that is.
Yeah, your sound has been just wavering a little bit.
Wavering.
So
well, I don't know.
Better without the camera. It might save your bandwidth.
Okay. Well, I've got a very expensive Virgin Media package, so I'm surprised it's not performing well. But anyway, yeah, I'm coming to an end anyway. So it's really. Erdi's book is a fascinating overview of a complex and relatively little known phenomenon, which is how the Turkish government manages to use expressions of its identity, and I would say religion juxtaposed with secular facets as well, to project a foreign policy which enables Turkey under the present government to build a presence in the region where formerly it didn't have such a presence. And I think that the final thing I would say is that there's also the Erdogan factor, which, despite his ambivalence towards democracy, perhaps, is regarded by many neighbouring governments as a characteristic that they would like to emulate: a strong and powerful president ruling a strong and powerful regime in a relatively, and I stress on the relatively, benign way, without the overt use of force to maintain itself in power. So I think the book should be read by anyone interested in Turkey's role in the world. The Balkans is a very good and interesting case study, but it tells us much more than that about how Turkey projects itself in the world, and the capacity of its current government to use what Erdi calls soft power to project itself to become a regional, even global player. So once again, thanks very much, Erdi, for the opportunity to take part in this. The book is a highly expert and very readable account, and it builds on some very, very good and detailed and useful research. So thanks for that. I've had my 12 minutes and 8 seconds, and that's enough for anybody. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. That was very helpful for those of us who are not familiar with the context. That was very helpful. So thank you very much for that. I've got a question, and I know Maria probably has a question as well. While we're formulating our questions, Erdi, have we heard anything from Jocelyn?
Yes, she has been having some connection difficulties regarding the link, and she told me that she tried every single way, but she couldn't connect. This is the email that I got from her.
Okay, so we're assuming that she's not going to be able to join us. Okay, that's fine. So I don't see any hands up. If I could just remind people in the audience that you can put your hand up using the icon. You can type your question in the chat, or you can put your hand up and ask your question. So while we're waiting for people to do that, I'll start, and then I might come to Maria, if that's okay. So my question is really for both of you. And it's picking up on what Jeff was saying towards the end of his talk about this notion of a benign influence, and to what extent can we see Turkey's influence in the Balkans as benign, or is it something more than that? And I suppose it brings me to my underlying question of what is the motivation of Turkey? So what motivates it to try to assert its presence in the region, and to what extent is it almost a form of cultural imperialism? And it was interesting to be reminded that, of course, Turkey was the great Ottoman Empire, so we are looking at an imperial history there. Or is it an economic motivation? Is it a political motivation? I was really curious to understand what exactly is behind this. So if I could ask both of you, perhaps to answer briefly, and then we'll go to Maria.
Sure. First of all, let me remind our audience again, and for the recordings, we didn't prepare a full male panel, but our female audience couldn't remember, so no one should blame us regarding that issue. I mean, let me tell you one thing about, first of all, the ambivalent structure of soft power. I mean, what we know from the literature, religion returned to the politics, to the international relations, mostly following the end of Cold War end of Cold War. And this has a great social and the political influence. In this influence, religion's soft power is the ability to wield the influence in politics and international relations, despite that it's creating a different combinations with economy, with other kind of sanctions, or some elements of hard power. That is why I'm defining the concept of I'm defining that the religious soft power is not enough to define. So it's better to define, if there is a religious influence, soft power, it should be an ambivalence or a denial. For your question, what is the motivations of Turkey? I mean, there are many motivations. The first thing is that there is a new concept, not a new concept actually, there is a concept, neo-Ottomanism. And in Turkey, every single political actor has its own neo-Ottoman structure. I mean, like how the Trump tried to make United States great again, how during the Brexit campaign we saw some slogans about the let's make the United Kingdom great again, so on and so forth. They're trying to make Turkey great again. And if Turkey would like to be a great again, it should go back to the Ottoman ties. And Ottoman, not established in Anatolia, became an empire in the Balkans. So to controlling the Balkans is also means the controlling the past, cultural heritage, and cultural normative richness of the region. The second thing is that Southeast Europe is not only a Southeast Europe, it's a bridge to the Western Europe. And there has been a big rivalry between Russia, China, Turkey, United States, UK, EU, Saudi Arabia, Iran, who are gonna control this land. So because this land is quite valuable, this is the second part. And more than 45% of the region are the Muslim majority. And there is a big competition between Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Morocco, Iran, and Turkey. Who will be the leader of the global Ummah? Ummah means the Muslim community all around the world. For sure, in 2021, will be the leader of the global Ummah. But still, there has been a competition, and one of the battlefields is in the Balkans. The last thing is that, I mean, currently what we know that there has been an extraterritorial authoritarianism of most of the countries. There has been an extraterritorial influence competition between different countries, and Turkey has been, as a middle power, not a global power, as a regional power, has been implementing all of these power praxis and the leadership desires in the region. And there are many different answers, positive and negative, in the Balkans. This is my brief answer.
Okay, well, thank you, Louise. You mentioned to what extent is Turkey's approach benign, and what are its motivations? Well, I suppose it's like any foreign policy, isn't it? Really, it's a country sees its national interest in a certain way, and I think, given what Erdi's just said about the let's call it the competition between various countries that are Muslim but also regional and even global players to some extent. I think that Turkey's approach is not benign in the sense that it's doing it for others. It's doing it for its own interest, and I think one of those is, as Zoe's just underlined, is the importance of Turkey finding a position in the region, which means that its rivals don't find that position. And I think the thing about Saudi Arabia, of course, it's often regarded as a country that carries a rather extremist ideology, Wahhabism or Salafism, whereas Turkey emphatically isn't like that. So I suspect that Turkey has a motivation really to present its own national interest, but also to present its own view or version of what it thinks Islam should be. But I think the crucial point is that it's a relationship between Islam and the state, which is what Turkey is projecting, not to project Islam as an ideology of organization or even power, but Islam as a facet of the state, because Turkey, to my understanding, is almost unique in the way that it is a 95 or 97% Muslim country, but which has been able to control religion via a government. It's not a ministry. It's not called a ministry, but it's called the Diyanet. And since the founding of Turkey, following the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, the Diyanet has been a powerful actor, but very much subservient to the state's power. So motivation, it's to further a Turkishness, which has religion as a component. Is it benign? I think it would be relatively benign in that it doesn't want to spread an extremist version of religion, which can be quite damaging. But only in that sense. I think Turkey is in it for national interest reasons, and religion is used instrumentally, as Turkey said.
And also one note, I mean, Turkey has been sharing the same past, same culture, and even if you would like to, I mean, 2 days later I'll have a seminar about conducting research on Muslims. If you would like to conduct research on Muslims, you should know Arabic. But if you would like to conduct a research on Muslims in the Balkans, you should speak Turkish. I mean, in my fieldwork, I only use Turkish and English in the Balkans. It is, I mean, Turkey can reach very easily compared to other countries to the region.
Okay, thank you both. So Maria, do you have a question? And then everybody else, if anybody else has a question, you can raise your hand. Maria.
Hi, Erdi and Jeff. Many thanks for your presentation. It's very, very inspiring and interesting. And I'm not an expert in that area, in that region, but I found it extremely interesting. I've got two big questions. So refrain yourself, Erdi. We don't want to stay here until 7 o'clock. But yeah, I've got two questions that came up to my mind while I was listening to you both. First, Erdi, you mentioned that, and Jeff, you also mentioned that Turkey uses his religion to consolidate his power domestically. So I wonder if you've got specific examples on how Turkey uses religion to consolidate his power or influence the regions around. Just very specific examples on that. And my second question is about Erdogan, really. I completed my PhD on Fidel Castro's policies in Cuba, and I found out that he was they managed to produce an extremely charismatic image of him. He was the leader of a very complex political system. and they managed to create a figure that is now, as we all know, famous, and they personalized the whole system in just one person. And I wonder how they're doing that with Erdogan. How does he embody power? And more specifically, the military, male, religious power. Is he a charismatic leader? Is he not that charismatic, but they've created that figure? What is Erdogan's, and I guess his administration, what are they doing? What are they doing to create those mechanisms so they are so admired for around some communities around Turkey?
Thank you very much, Maria, for those. Yeah, no, really, really insightful. So thank you very much. And Erdi, over to you, and then we'll come to Jeff.
I mean, these are very hard questions. I mean, we should speak like days and days for them. But let me again, briefly, for the first question, using religion and religious tools. According to Turkish constitution, none of the political actors, particularly if they are standing on the presidential chair, they shouldn't, I mean, legally, illegally, they can present themselves in any single legal occasion as a Muslim, Christian, so on and so forth. But Erdogan has been doing, I mean, combining, I mean, there is no differences, there is no clear cut between religion and politics. But right now, they've been working together. This is a cover photo of my book. And this is the holy day of the Quran, and been celebrating by the main head imams of Diyanet, so on and so forth. And this is the president of Turkey, and with the presidential flag, and it is written in here in Arabic, God. So this is the symbol of the contemporary Turkey, which is still constitutionally secular. But as I said, in the Turkish understanding of secularism, which is called laiklik, instrumentalization of religion, management of religion, and the controlling of religion is not a new or a strange thing. The only thing is that this formulation of state religion regulations, now controlled by a religious actor and a very wise religious actor. Erdogan is 67 years old, and he has been in politics since he was 13. This means that two political actors has been in politics more than half century in the world. Joe Biden, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. So he's a very experienced actor and very Aristotelian meanings. He's a political animal. He was being served every single stage of politics. Definitely Aristotelian meanings. I'm holding a Turkish passport. I wouldn't say anything wrong to him. This is the first thing. The second thing is that using religion, religious apparatuses, using like public diplomacy, using like many different tools, they created an image of Erdogan is the main leader of the Muslims in the Balkans. I would like to show one photo from the book. Can you see the photo? This is a Recep Tayyip Erdogan pizza shop in Albanian's town Durrës. Durrës is the seaside town in Albania, and after my third visit in Albania, one of my interviews said that you should go to Recep Tayyip Erdogan pizza shop. I said, what? The Recep Tayyip Erdogan's pizza shop? What does this mean? And he told me that the owner is a Wahhabi. I said, Wahhabi? Recep Tayyip Erdogan pizza shop. Yeah, it's the textbook definition of oxymorony. But I went that pizza shop. I ate a couple of slices, to be frank. And finally, I managed to find the owner of the pizza shop. And I told that, I mean, I use my first name all the time in the interviews because Ahmet is a Muslim name, very, very against my personalities. But I mean, I use, hello, my name is Ahmet Öztürk from Turkey. My brother. Okay, that's all good. And I said, come on, you're a Wahhabi. Why did you put the name of our president to your pizza shop? And he told me that, yes, I'm coming from a different sect, and there has been a conflict between my country and the Turkey. But at the same time, an Albanian citizen, I saw that Erdogan holding the flag of Islam while using ties and talking with the Western leaders with their I mean, the languages, so on and so forth. This is the image in a very ordinary Muslim people in the Balkans. So this is the charisma. And the last thing is that as a political scientist, I haven't seen any political leader as charismatic or not. But Erdogan's personal vote without any party, without any organization, is more than 20% in the contemporary Turkey, despite the fragile economic conditions and despite every crisis.
Two questions. How is religion used by the government, and is Erdogan charismatic? Well, the government is very keen and has always been very keen to stress its secular nature. But what it does is to cultivate what it calls conservative values, but which are synonymous with its Islamic values. So this is a focus on and a stressing of the importance of morality, of certain forms of behavior. It's a denying of progressive change as a good thing in itself. It's a way of rooting society in fundamental values, which we might call religious, but the government might call conservative, well thought through values. So it's an ambivalence there in how religion is utilized, but it is certainly a claim, and I would say a justified claim, to focus on certain values which inform both a religious view of the world, but also if you like, a secular conservative view of the world. Unless we forget, once again, I'll mention that the government has been exceptionally popular over the last 20 years, primarily from the rural vote, which is very, very strong, not so strong in the cities. Ankara, Istanbul, Izmir aren't big strongholds of the AKP, but of course Turkey is a country of 90 million people, and if you've got 60 million rural people mostly voting for that government, then you succeed. And their values, which we could classify as religious or conservative or both. Is he charismatic? Well, you know, I was at an event in Azerbaijan, a UN event in 2016, and President Erdogan was speaking. And my God, he was a powerful speaker. He was controlled. I didn't agree with the word he said, but I was impressed with how he said it. And I think if that's how we're going to define charisma, he's certainly a politician with the ability to stir the emotions, and for his followers, he manages to stir them in a good way.
And I think there is a gap in the answer of my questions. Just the one sentences you talked about. Is he really powerful? Is he really charismatic? I think we should underline one point when we are talking about Turkey. Turkey is the ancestor of the Eastern Rome, Byzantium Empire, and then the Ottoman Empire. In that region, in that area, neither conqueror Mehmet nor magnificent Süleyman, not the Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, and not Erdogan sitting the chair alone. It is a unification of different power groups and different coalitions. The mastermind, the ability is that how you rule, manage all these power groups. So this is the one of the abilities of Erdogan as a political actor. But he is not that powerful because he is getting his powers out of these unofficial, informal coalition partners.
True.
Thank you. Maria, did you?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, so are there any questions from the audience? Would anybody like to raise their hand and ask a question or make a comment or an observation? You've all been listening quietly for an hour, so now is your turn to speak up. Anybody? I don't see any hands going up. I think they're probably all just digesting this information and formulating their thoughts.
Yeah, we got one comment. Yes, also the Selçuk Empire. Every single Özlem wrote a note. Also the Selçuk Empire. Yes, this is also the same, coming from the same state heritage in all the states in Anatolia.
Erdi, can I ask you something? What are the big challenges you found to do your research and write this book? Because it's a very complex topic and you're touching many, many different sides. What are the big issues that you found?
I mean, it's not only about a book. I'll talk a little bit about these issues in 2 days, but I don't know how and why, but since the beginning of my first master, every subjects of mine that I choose became quite dangerous for a Turkish citizen. For example, I did my master, despite I'm coming a very secular or non-religious background, I did my second master on the Gülen movement. That is the biggest traitor of Erdogan. If you are affiliated with the Gülen movement, you can be jailed easily in Turkey. And now I worked on the religion and politics and power in the Balkans, in the foreign policy. I mean, what is the biggest challenges? I mean, I'm not sure whether it's a challenge or not, but holding a Turkish passport and writing something even in English or Turkish will put you a kind of an autocensure. I mean, you have to block yourself. This is the first thing. But at the same time, my name, there is a small part, just 3 parts in the book, which is about being Ahmet Öztürk in the Balkans. Being an Ahmet, Muslim, and Öztürk, Turkish, would open me many different doors. I prayed with Salafis in the Tirana in the mosques just to conduct interview. I can reach every single mosque because I'm from Turkey. It would be very easy. It wouldn't be very easy for you to reach all the resources, even though I mean I have to be always with long shirts despite of my tattoos, but this is another story. But at the same time, coming from a foreign country researcher, I was in Strasbourg University on that time, and being quote unquote young would also give some disadvantages because most of the policymakers try to teach me or dictate me what I should write. Or if I would use a snowball technique, it would be very difficult for me because I'll go only one way. I mean, to control these issues is quite difficult. The last point is that, I mean, the Balkans, likewise Turkey, even though they lived under the Ottoman Empire more than 5 centuries, still they're weak and quite fragile state structures. And for the politicians, for the political actors, trust issue is very important. They didn't trust me. They didn't want to talk with me. Therefore, I mean, for 130 interviews, I spent 3 years and drove kilometers and kilometers because they said, I mean, you might be a spy, and they took my business card, and at the end of the day, they send me an email whether they checked whether my email or true or not, or they try to phone me via call, or at the same time, due to the national repressions and the operations of Turkey, it would be very difficult, particularly after 2016, to conduct an interview in the Balkans. Some of the members of the Turkish traitors in the region, I mean, accepted my interview requests, I mean, in the far corner of the countries. And it was like financially, logistically, in terms of security, it was tough, but enjoyable. But the problem is that I was an unknown person on that time, without any article, without any visibility. And it would be at the same time very easy because they saw me like naive student. Yeah. But right now, most probably I couldn't do the same research. Because whenever I wrote an email, they would Google me, they would find my articles, opinions, so on and so forth. It would be very difficult. So, I mean, it was a true adventure. I'm missing that days actually. It was enjoyable.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
Thank you. So I see that Özlem has been typing things in the chat. So Özlem, I don't know if you'd like to turn your microphone on and make a comment. And Edgar has also typed a comment in the chat. So I would invite both Özlem and Edgar to turn their microphones on and make their comment verbally. Is that okay? Özlem, do you want to go first? Or maybe not.
Özlem,
yeah,
Özlem
Edgar.
A question.
Oh, my isn't available. Okay, so Edgar, would you like to ask your question? Okay, prefer if I read it out. Okay, so this is Edgar's question. In certain parts of the Balkans, in Albania and Kosovo, there is also a backlash against not only support for Erdogan and Turkish interference in the Balkans, even among certain Muslims. Have you included this aspect in your research, and can you comment on it? Yes, very important. Thank you, Edgar. So what about those who oppose Turkish influence in the Balkans? Thank you.
Edgar, many thanks. We talked a little bit of before your arrival, most probably, and we discussed this issue just before I started to write the book with Jeff. Yes, there are also many backlashes against Erdogan's support, and this is why I prefer to use the ambivalence of religious soft power, not because the Orthodox or non-Muslims' reactions to the Balkans, but at the same time other Muslim groups. In this Muslim groups, in the fourth part of the book, I categorize it. It is based on two different things. The one is sects, as you say, the Bektashis, non-Sunni groups are very much against Erdogan's aggressive attitudes and one-sided support. Because when I talked to Baba Mondi, who is the Pope of the Bektashis and in Tirana, I spent like more than 7 hours with him. He was very sad or upset, not angry, because one-sided support coming from Turkey and Turkey's current image. This is one side. The other side is that I told in the book, class, education, economic situation is very much I think one should read all of these issues from a Gramscian point of view, but I'm not that critical theorist. But this issues is very much related with class, education, and power. As I said in my presentation, mostly starting from lower middle class to down, they've been quite fond of Erdogan. But when they became middle class, trying to read the other their sub-Croatian language or Turkish language news or English news, their attitudes would change towards Erdogan. So not only the division, the ambivalence is between Muslims and non-Muslims, but at the same time, there are different divisions into the Muslims. The last part, the third one, is that even with the Sunni Muslims, even with the lower class, there is a division because Turkey is not the only influential actor. Turkey is one of the actors. Turkey originated other transnational religious communities, likewise Gülen is one actor. And despite the economic crisis in the region, Saudis and United Arab Emirates and currently Iran is getting not a bigger, but starting to be a visible actor, and they've been posing these against Erdogan and against Turkey and Turkishness ideas in the region as well.
Yes, thank you very much. I don't know what's happened to Jeff. I was going to ask him if he had a comment, but I think he's just currently unavailable. So are there any other questions? Would anybody else like to type a question in the chat or put their hand up? If not, I think perhaps we can move towards a conclusion. So no, okay. So Erdi, perhaps you can wrap up now if there are any final remarks that you wish to make. So people are now typing things in the chat. Very intellectually stimulating seminar. Many thanks, Erdi, and the rest of the team. And there's also a link has been put in the chat for the workshop that you're doing later in the week, Erdi, as well. So Jeff, we're just going to move towards a conclusion now. So if you have any wrap-up final remarks that you'd like to make, maybe you can start, Jeff.
I think Erdi's, as I'm sure he would, he's dealt with this exceptionally well. He's covered the ground very, very well indeed. I've learned a lot already today. So no, I don't have anything else to add. And just once again, if anyone listening still hasn't bought the book, go out and buy several copies straight away, I would say.
Excellent, a great sales pitch there, and it's good that you're saying that, not Erdi. So it's modesty would prevent Erdi from saying that. Erdi, so over to you for some final brief wrapping up remarks.
I mean, as I said, it's a special day for me. It's not my first book. It's not my first book launch, but being in my home institute and sharing the visual screen with you, it was an honor. And I hope we can cover I think it's a little bit of a complicated book because, I mean, you need to read first the Balkan history, Turkey history, and then you should read my book. It's not a fundamental stuff, so you don't need to do that. Whenever you want to know something about the Balkans and Turkey, you can invite me free of charge, so there's no issue about that. And I mean, thank you so much, and feeling at home is a very great adventure. And again, I mean, I really would like to see many different events from that energetic center, and I hope we can do another event face to face and make a real interaction. This is my only hope. And I mean, thank you so much, Jeff, for promoting the selling of the book.
Yes, thank you very much. So it just remains for me to thank Jeff very much, and of course thank and congratulate Erdi on his book, and also to remind people that our next seminar in the series will take place on the 24th of March, which is on diversity sensitive parliaments, particularly focusing on the Welsh Assembly. So on behalf of myself and my colleague Maria Lopez, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and yes, I very much echo your sentiment, Erdi, that we hope eventually we'll be able to have some face-to-face seminars, but these online ones are good as well because it means people can join from all over. So there's an advantage to both virtual and face-to-face. So on that note, I'd like to thank you all very much for coming, and we hope to see you at one of our future events. Thank you.
Right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.